gleaming towers of Wolf Enterprises stood tall against the morning sky, a monument to wealth and power. Inside, the corridors buzzed with hurried footsteps and quiet whispers of ambition. Among these polished halls, Elena Reyes pushed her mop quietly, the janitor many overlooked. Her hands moved with care, but her mind raced faster. Years of hard work, late-night study sessions, and secret plans churned beneath her calm exterior. In the corner office, Damian Wolf, the ruthless billionaire CEO, watched Elena sweep past his window, his lips curled into a cold sneer. When she entered his office to clean, his gaze cut through her like ice. "People like you," Damian said, voice low but sharp, "do not get rich. You stay invisible." Elena's eyes flickered with a quiet fire. She said nothing, but inside a storm brewed. That single sentence echoed in her mind long after she left the office. Invisible? No more. If Damian thought she would fade into the background, he had underestimated her. Elena carried a secret no one could guess. She had been quietly studying the company's darkest financial records, hidden away from prying eyes. Tonight, her plan would begin. But little did she know, the next 24 hours would change everything, for her and for Damian Wolf. Elena returned to her modest apartment, the city lights flickering beyond the window like distant stars. Exhaustion tugged at her limbs, but sleep was a stranger tonight. Her fingers traced the edge of a worn folder hidden beneath her bed, a folder filled with pages of company files she had copied over months. Financial reports, emails, hidden accounts, each a thread in a web no one else saw. Elena had pieced together Wolf's empire's darkest secrets, and her heart pounded with both fear and resolve. She whispered to herself, voice barely audible, "You think I am nothing, but I see everything." Her mind replayed Damian Wolf's harsh words. They were meant to crush her, but instead, they fueled her. Elena knew the risks. If caught, the consequences could be devastating. Yet she also understood something more important: justice. This was not just about money. It was about proving that no one's worth should be measured by their title or their station. Outside, a stray dog padded quietly along the empty street. Elena's gaze softened. Like her, the dog was overlooked by many, invisible to the busy world. But it survived through wit and courage, just like she would. Tomorrow she will set her plan in motion. Wolf's world, so polished and perfect, was about to crack. And Elena, the janitor he dismissed, would be the one to break it wide open. Morning light filtered through the cracked blinds as Elena sat at her kitchen table, staring at the screen of her battered laptop. The financial data she had gathered was complex, but the patterns were clear, damaging enough to shake the foundation of Wolf Enterprises. With trembling hands, she began sending encrypted messages to trusted journalists and whistleblower groups. Each click was a step closer to tipping the scales. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. A message popped up. "Are you sure about this?" It could destroy everything. It was from Marco, a quiet colleague who had quietly supported her from the shadows. Elena paused, her breath catching. Doubt crept in like a cold fog, but she quickly pushed it away. "No," she whispered. "This is right. No empire built on lies should stand." As she hit send, a sharp knock at her door startled her. Her heart raced. Outside, a small figure waited, a neighborhood stray dog, now a silent companion in her fight. Elena opened the door just enough to let it in, smiling despite the tension. Tomorrow would bring storms, but tonight, a simple act of kindness reminded her that even in darkness, there was hope. The first domino had fallen. Inside the towering walls of Wolf Enterprises, chaos erupted like a thunderclap. Screens flickered with breaking news as reporters unveiled the scandal Elena had exposed. Illegal dealings, hidden debts, and forged contracts, all traced back to Damian Wolf himself. Executives whispered in panic. Stock prices plummeted. Damian sat frozen behind his desk, disbelief clouding his sharp eyes. He had always believed power made him untouchable, but now the empire trembled beneath his feet. Meanwhile, Elena watched the storm unfold from her small apartment, her breath shallow but steady. She was no longer just a janitor. She had become a force to be reckoned with. Her phone buzzed relentlessly with messages from reporters, lawyers, and even competitors. Some offered help, others tried to intimidate, but Elena remained focused. The risk was greater than ever, but so was her determination. That night, as the city pulsed with news of Damien's downfall, Elena felt a quiet satisfaction. She whispered to the stray dog at her feet, "We did it, but this is just the beginning." The battle for the empire was far from over. Damien Wolf might have been shaken, but he was not yet defeated. Tomorrow the real test would come, when the company went up for auction and Elena would face the most dangerous gamble of all. The grand hall was packed with sharp suits and greedy eyes, all waiting for the gavel to fall on Wolf Enterprises. Elena stood near the back, her heart pounding beneath a simple jacket. This was no longer about cleaning floors. It was a battle for survival and justice. Every bidder saw the crumbling empire as a prize. For Elena, it was the final chance to claim what was rightfully hers. Damien Wolf sat at a corner table, his usual confidence replaced by a flicker of unease. He caught Elena's eye across the room and sneered as if to say, "You will never win." But Elena's gaze held something fiercer, quiet strength born from months of planning and sacrifice. When the auctioneer's hammer struck, she placed her bid, all of her life savings on the line. The room fell silent. Then the unexpected happened. No one else matched her offer. Elena had won. Whispers filled the room, disbelief mixing with respect. She was no longer invisible. The janitor who swept these halls had become their new master. As the crowd watched, Damien's expression twisted. This was a defeat far worse than any scandal. Elena's journey was only beginning, but already the empire was hers to command. Elena stepped into the office that once belonged to Damien Wolf, the weight of the empire settling on her shoulders. The polished mahogany desk, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It all felt surreal. Yet beneath the luxury, she sensed the cracks left by years of greed and neglect. This was more than a prize. It was a responsibility she could not ignore. She whispered softly, "This is just the start." Her first day as CEO was a whirlwind. Employees who had once ignored her passed by with surprised glances and cautious nods. The boardroom meetings were cold at first, faces unfamiliar, voices skeptical. Damien's loyalists still lingered, clinging to old power. But Elena remained calm, listening more than speaking, learning the rhythms of a world she had once only observed from the shadows. Late that evening, as the office emptied, Elena sat alone, her mind racing with plans. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a photo, a snapshot of her parents, their worn hands and hopeful smiles. They had taught her that true strength came from resilience and kindness. Elena knew that to change this empire, she needed both. The next challenge loomed ahead, but she was ready to meet it head-on. Despite Elena's calm and measured approach, the resistance inside Wolf Enterprises was fierce. Some executives whispered in shadowed corners, doubting the janitor-turned-CEO could steer the company out of crisis. One board member, Marcus, openly challenged her during a tense meeting. "This empire demands experience, not luck," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. Elena met his gaze steadily. "Experience without integrity is just a hollow shell," she replied quietly, her words cutting through the room's tension. The boardroom fell silent, the weight of truth settling over them. But Elena knew this was just the beginning of the battles to come. Change, especially sudden and unexpected, breeds fear, and fear breeds opposition. Back in her office, Elena found an unexpected ally, a janitor named Carlos, who had worked at the company for decades and quietly observed every injustice. He slipped her a note. "You are not alone. We believe in you." Elena smiled softly, feeling a warmth amid the cold. The people who had once overlooked her now formed the foundation of her strength. She was no longer invisible, and with every challenge, she grew stronger. Elena knew that winning respect required more than words. It demanded results. She began by auditing the company's departments personally, uncovering waste, corruption, and forgotten talent. Her hands-on approach surprised many, especially the employees who had dismissed her before. She listened to their concerns, asking questions that cut through corporate jargon, seeking real solutions. One afternoon, Elena met with a team struggling to salvage a failing project. Instead of blaming or ordering, she rolled up her sleeves and worked alongside them. "We fix this together," she said, her voice steady and encouraging. Slowly, the atmosphere shifted. The walls of doubt cracked, replaced by cautious hope. Even Marcus watched from the sidelines, his skepticism softening. That evening, Elena sat alone reflecting on the day. The stray dog curled at her feet, a silent reminder of resilience. She whispered, "Change is never easy, but it is possible." The empire was healing, one small victory at a time. Yet she knew that Damian Wolf was not finished. The final battle, the one for the soul of the company, still lay ahead. Just when the company began to steady under Elena's leadership, shadows from Damian Wolf's past surfaced with renewed force. Hidden allies of the fallen tycoon worked behind closed doors, orchestrating a plan to reclaim their lost power. Anonymous threats landed on Elena's desk, cryptic messages warning her to step down before things got worse. Elena did not flinch. Instead, she called a private meeting with her closest team, including Carlos and Marco. "This is more than a business fight," she said, her voice firm but calm. "They want to scare us, but fear has never stopped me." The group exchanged determined glances, knowing the battle had moved beyond spreadsheets and meetings. This was now a war of wills. That night, Elena sat by the window, the city lights sparkling below like distant stars. The stray dog rested beside her, sensing the tension. Her thoughts drifted to the moment Damian Wolf had told her she would never be rich, never be seen. Now facing the darkness of his legacy, Elena realized the true meaning of strength. Not just to rise, but to stand firm when everything tries to pull you down. The boardroom buzzed with tension as Elena prepared to face her most formidable challenge yet, a vote of confidence that could either cement her place or send her back to obscurity. Damian Wolf's loyalists had rallied enough support to call for a leadership review. The stakes were higher than ever. Elena knew this was more than a battle for a title. It was a test of whether justice could truly prevail. As the meeting began, voices rose sharply, accusations flew like arrows. Marcus, once a vocal skeptic, now led the charge against her. Elena listened quietly, weighing every word. When her turn came, she stood with quiet conviction. "This company's future is not about clinging to old power," she said. "It is about transparency, fairness, and innovation." Her voice echoed through the room, leaving a silence that spoke louder than any argument. The vote was close, but Elena won by a narrow margin. Relief and disbelief mixed in the eyes of her supporters and opponents alike. Outside, reporters waited eagerly, cameras flashing as headlines began to form. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady. "This is not just my victory," she said. "It belongs to everyone who believes in change." The empire had a new ruler, and this time, it was one built on courage and truth. With the board's support secured, Elena turned her focus to rebuilding Wolf Enterprises from the ground up. She knew that real change would take more than quick fixes. It demanded new values and a new vision. The first step was to create opportunities for those who had long been ignored, to listen to voices lost beneath the noise of power. She launched programs to train and promote employees at every level, giving them a stake in the company's future. Meetings once filled with tension became spaces for honest dialogue and collaboration. Elena's own story became a beacon, a reminder that anyone, regardless of background, could rise with determination and heart. One evening, as Elena walked through the now bustling halls, she paused to watch Carlos and a group of janitors sharing a laugh. The stray dog trotted beside her, tail wagging. At that moment, Elena smiled, knowing that the empire she had inherited was no longer just a place of profit, but a home of possibility. The hardest battles were behind her, but the journey to transform a legacy had only just begun. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the city as Elena stood on the rooftop of Wolf Enterprises, looking out over the skyline she had once only dreamed of reaching. The weight of the empire no longer felt like a burden, but a call to purpose. She thought back to the moment Damian Wolf dismissed her with those cutting words. Words meant to break her spirit, but that instead had forged her resolve like steel. Inside the building, the atmosphere had transformed. Employees who once passed her by without a glance now greeted her with respect and warmth. The janitorial staff, once invisible shadows in the company's corners, were now proud contributors to its success. Elena had woven a new fabric of leadership, one grounded in integrity, empathy, and shared ambition. The empire was no longer a fortress of greed, but a community of hope. As the day unfolded, Elena prepared to address the company's largest gathering yet. Her voice carried through the auditorium, calm but powerful. True strength, she said, is not measured by the size of your fortune, but by the courage to stand for what is right. We have all faced doubt and darkness, but together we shine brighter than ever. The crowd erupted in applause, the sound echoing beyond the walls, a promise of transformation. Elena smiled, knowing this was not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter where justice, resilience, and heart reigned supreme. The city streets outside Wolf Enterprises buzzed with whispers of transformation. News outlets ran stories not only about Elena's rise, but about the ripple effect she was creating far beyond the glass towers. Communities once ignored by corporate giants began to see opportunities emerge. Elena's leadership had ignited something powerful, a belief that change was possible, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Inside the company, subtle shifts unfolded daily. Employees who had felt trapped in dead-end roles now found mentors who believed in their potential. The culture began to breathe with new life, energized by a shared purpose. Even those who had doubted Elena found themselves inspired by her resilience and vision. Conversations around the water cooler were filled with hope instead of fear. One afternoon, Elena found herself in a quiet moment with Carlos, the longtime janitor turned advisor. "You always believed in me," she said softly. Carlos smiled, his eyes reflecting pride. "I saw the fire you hid beneath that mop," he replied. "You taught us all that no one is invisible." Elena's heart swelled with gratitude. The echoes of change were no longer whispers. They were a movement, reshaping lives and futures. Months had passed since Elena's triumphant rise, but the true measure of her success lay not in headlines or stock prices, but in the lives quietly transformed within Wolf Enterprises. She walked through the office corridors, now alive with laughter and collaboration, far removed from the cold tension that once ruled. Every smile, every nod of encouragement was a testament to a new era, one built on respect and opportunity. Elena paused before a meeting room where a group of young employees gathered, brainstorming ideas without fear of judgment. Their energy was contagious, a stark contrast to the stiff, guarded atmosphere she remembered. She thought of the countless nights she had spent alone, planning and fighting, wondering if her efforts would ever matter. Now, standing amidst this vibrant community, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. In a quiet moment later that evening, Elena sat by the window with the stray dog curled at her feet. She whispered, "We did it." It was not just her victory, but theirs, the overlooked, the underestimated, the brave who dared to believe. The empire had changed forever, and as dawn approached, Elena knew the greatest battles had been fought, not in boardrooms, but in hearts awakened to a new truth. That power belongs to those who dare to rise. Elena stood once more at the window of her office, gazing out over the cityscape bathed in the soft hues of dawn. The empire she had inherited was no longer a symbol of ruthless ambition, but a beacon of hope and possibility. Her journey from janitor to CEO had become a story told in hushed reverence, proof that courage, perseverance, and integrity could rewrite even the most entrenched narratives. Her phone buzzed softly with messages from employees sharing their personal successes, promotions earned, dreams rekindled, and communities uplifted. Elena smiled, knowing that her true victory was not measured in wealth, but in the lives she had touched. She whispered to the stray dog resting beside her, "This is just the beginning." As she prepared to address a new generation of leaders, Elena's voice carried a message that echoed beyond the walls of Wolf Enterprises. Who will you see today? Whose story will you believe? Talent has no title, and strength has no dress code. Together we rise. The room filled with applause, but for Elena, the greatest applause was the quiet, steady beat of change unfolding, one heart at a time. If Elena's journey inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories of courage and transformation. Don't miss out. Join our community where every voice matters and every story counts. Share your thoughts below. I want to hear who inspires you to rise.